BBC 5 Live, Saturday Breakfast.
Let's talk now about people suffering from the most severe health conditions will no longer having to be reassessed in order to claim sickness benefits. The Work and Pensions Secretary, Damian will announce the change at the Conservative Party conference, which gets underway tomorrow. Our social affairs correspondent is Michael Buchanan. Michael, thank you for joining us. What is being announced?
Well, it's as you said. I mean, if it's people who are on employment and support allowance. This is the main sickness benefit. There's about 2.5 million people on it in the UK. And what happens is that applicants have to be tested to find out whether they're eligible for this benefit. It's called a work capability assessment. And then if they pass that test, then they can get the benefit. But even if they do get the benefit, then they are often retested to ensure that their condition hasn't changed. Now, these retests can in fact work for the claimant because sometimes their conditions can actually get worse in some cases, and therefore they move on to, there's 2 levels of benefit on ESA, so they may move on to the higher level. But in the main, people with long-term health conditions have always viewed these tests as a waste of time and a waste of money, and it seems that the Work and Pension Secretary Damian is agreeing, because he is now saying that for people with long-term conditions such as MS, such as Parkinson's, such as a congenital heart problem, then they will just get the benefit. They won't have to go through these retests.
Michael, thank you. We could talk now to Kieran Bunker, who is on the autistic spectrum and has ADHD. He receives employment support allowance and joins us now. Morning to you, Kieran.
Good morning.
So now you're part of this work-related activity group. Tell us what that means.
It's the group that basically they say to you that you're able to look for work and you have to go in for assessments to do so. So yeah, it's not like the other gentleman said about the other group where there's no need to do that.
So with your condition, you'll still need to have these assessments.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no change for you.
Well, no, my condition's going to stay the same, but I think like I'm welcoming the news and that like that's come in. What they're saying basically means that it's just going to be not stringent, basically. So it's not going to put the stress on me that it is doing now.
Yeah, so you'll go for an assessment, and if they agree that yours is a condition that actually isn't going to improve, you'll get left alone.
Yeah.
Tell us how stressful it has been then, being retested.
Well, it's like making the appointments and stuff like that, and then obviously with the stringency on that is that I fear going to the job centre itself. It causes me a lot of stress, and I've missed appointments and then tried to remake them appointments, and that like obviously with my carers and my support, and they've obviously stipulated that there is these sanctions that they can put in place, and that's just made the situation even worse. So yeah, now I like completely fear going in to see them.
And what kind of impact has it had on you personally?
It's very stressful. It's not nice. It's made me in a position of like trying to find work personally, and that like or developing myself to get back into work very difficult.
You're studying at the moment as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm studying law, and most of the time whenever I go in there, it's sort of like they ask me and that, like what I'm doing, is there any change to my conditions, etc. And I say to them no, and I'm still studying, and then they just say to me, oh well, we'll see you in 6 months or 3 months or something like that one. So it seems like that I'm stressing myself out going in there for something that hasn't even changed. I haven't changed anything personally, so it just seems like I'm wasting their time and vice versa.
Yeah, well this is the whole point, isn't it? We have Damian coming on the programme in the next hour, and the whole point of changing this bit of the system to put people like you in a work-related activity group, the title kind of speaks for itself, is to try to help you get back to work. What's changed?
Nothing's changed yet. Yeah, obviously. I think when they introduced these new standards, obviously, and that, like it was more that they were focusing on obviously sanctioning you from not complying with them. So I'd say it's made it a lot worse, a lot more difficult to do so, because when you've got them pressures on, when you're not well, when days are worse, etc., then they're telling you that basically that the sanction can be put into place, and that makes the condition even worse. So you're more worried about not obviously achieving this than you are actually being able to use them, which they're there for obviously to try and help you back into work, or help you with your studies obviously to make yourself better to get back into work.
I believe though that in your particular group there is going to be a financial change, though. Your benefit is going down for new claimants from next April to fall in line with job seekers allowance. I think that's a difference of about £30 a week. What kind of, I mean, that won't affect you because you're not a new claimant, but what kind of difference do you think that will make for other people?
I would disagree with you because it does affect me, and it does affect a lot of people that are on benefits now will fear trying to find employment, because if they come off the benefit and then have to rejoin it again because their condition's worse, or they have, like I have, stressful times in my life where I can't capably deal with myself or employment, they will be put into that same group. So there's the fear of that one as well, and I think it's a shame that they expect employers to treat us equally with our disability, but they're going to treat us exactly the same as sort of like normal able-bodied people, and take that benefit away from them. If it's anything to go by on my one, before I got the enhancement to mine and be put into the work-related group by Atos, the time that I was on the lower amount, I couldn't survive to live there, and that's what it's supposed to be based for, is short term to help people on JSA into work. Whereas ESA, we're on it for a longer period of time, and friends that I know on the spectrum themselves have found this difficult as well.
Well, listen, we thank you so much for talking us through that, Kieran. Kieran Bunker there, he's on the autistic spectrum. He has ADHD and he receives employment support allowance. And we will be speaking to Damian Green, the Work and Pensions Secretary, in the next hour.
This is BBC 5 Live, available on the BBC iPlayer radio app. Saturday Breakfast.
Good morning. Welcome to Saturday Breakfast on 5 Live. Eleanor Oldroyd and Claire McDonnell with you this morning. Let's talk more about the sickness benefits claimants no longer having to go through reassessments to keep their payments if they suffer from chronic illnesses. We can talk now to Damian Green, the Work and Pensions Secretary, announcing the move. He joins us now. Morning to you.
Morning.
So talk us through this. Why the change and why now?
The change is that everyone has to go through what's called a work capability assessment to get benefits, sort of unemployment benefits. The main benefit, employment support allowance, which is given to those who are sick, we're now saying that we're going to stop retesting people who've got diseases that make them unfit for work, and which either stay the same or can only get worse. So diseases like multiple sclerosis, severe Huntington's, some congenital heart conditions. People with those sorts of conditions, it's absolutely pointless to bring them back year after year and retest them, because sadly they're not going to get better.
So is this an admission from you then that your own government's policy not only didn't work, it was a bit pointless and pretty inhumane?
Well, the work capability assessment was actually introduced by the Labour government, and I think it's obviously sensible for people to go through an assessment. What I'm saying is that it's not sensible to do it again and again for the group of people, which is quite a large group of people. This will help many tens of thousands of people who know that their situation is not going to get better.
But you let this policy stand for 6 years of government. Many people contacting 5 Live Breakfast this morning. Here's one example. One texter says, can you ask Mr. Green why they allowed that to continue for as long as they did? So many people have died, taken their lives under this cruel, humiliating regime. Many people were saying this for 6 years, that it needed to change, and nobody listened.
Well, we've had 3 independent reviews of the work capability assessment, so it's constantly changing and evolving. But I hope all those who've said that this change should come will welcome the fact that I'm announcing it this morning.
And what do you say to that, though? That it caused a lot of misery, didn't it?
Well, I think it certainly increased anxiety for people who knew that they not just they weren't getting better, but they couldn't get better. And that's why I'm changing it. It seems to me a sensible change. I
mean, it could be argued that we know the Atos system was overwhelmed. They were initially doing the assessments and had to stop in 2014 to 2014 because it was overwhelmed, it couldn't cope. I mean, it could be argued this is less about compassion and more about throwing the towel on a broken system.
No, the system's not broken. The system works quite well, but any system can always be improved, and I think this is a significant improvement. It will certainly mean that we will be doing far fewer tests of the type which as I'd say, I think they're pointless. So we'll be stopping doing them. Hopefully, one of the side effects of this will be even more improvements to the efficiency of the system.
We have been speaking on the breakfast programme on 5 Live this morning to one of the people affected by these changes. I'd like you to take a listen to what he's been saying. He's Kieran Bunker. He's on the autistic spectrum, and he has ADHD, and he does receive employment support allowance.
My condition is going to stay the same, but I think I'm welcoming the news now that's come in. What they're saying basically means that it's just going to be not stringent, basically. So it's not going to put the stress on me that it is doing now. It's like making the appointments and stuff like that, and then obviously with the stringency on that is that I fear going to the job centre itself. It causes me a lot of stress, and I've missed appointments and then tried to remake them appointments, and that obviously with my carers and my support, and they've obviously stipulated that there is these sanctions that they can put in place, and that's just made the situation even worse.
And that is going to change for him now, so he said he did welcome that, but what he didn't welcome was the fact that he's in this work-related activity group, so he's still going to be assessed, and that, for new claimants, that is a payment that's going down. And he said even for him, £30 a week, if he goes into work and it doesn't work out because he has got this ongoing condition, when he comes back out onto benefits, he will lose £30 a week, which is roughly £1,500 a year. Many people saying that is the wrong thing to do.
Well, if he's in the work-related activity group, then obviously he's got the chance of getting back to work. And what I've announced today is part of a wider package we'll be announcing in a few weeks' time of measures precisely to help people like that, so that they can get work. Because the best thing for people is if they can control their own lives, earn their own living, so that it's not just good for them in monetary terms, it's actually good for their self-esteem and for their sense of control over their own lives.
But how can that be good for them in monetary terms if they're losing £30 a week?
Well, as I say, what we're doing is it's part of a wider package which will make it easier for them to get into work, because in the end that's the way they can have stability, as I say, not just financially but more widely in their life as well.
He also said to us it's made absolutely no difference. He's been on this reassessment programme. It's made no difference to him getting into work. He goes back for these appointments and they say, see you in 6 months' time. If the system was working and pushing him in that direction, he could understand it. But he was saying it's causing a lot of stress and instability for a lot of people. And if you're living with a condition, no matter what it is, that just makes your likelihood of getting back into work even less.
Well, one of the things that we are constantly trying to improve, and as I say, there'll be a new raft of measures announced in a consultation document in a few months' time, is precisely to address the feeling that you go and get assessed and then nothing happens. There's a huge amount of effort in job centres now where work coaches actually take an individual interest in people and try and make sure as much as possible that they can be enabled to get back to work, that there are jobs available for them. So it's precisely people like that who I'm very, very keen that we should get better at helping into work.
Okay, while you're here, just briefly ask you about Brexit. Ian Duncan-Smith, of course, formerly in your job, of course, wasn't he? He has been getting his heads together, according to the papers this morning, to come up with a plan for Brexit, for the EU, and he's saying apparently Britain should quit the EU within 2 years. It should be a hard-line Brexit. We should just get on with it. It's a route map apparently drawn up by himself, Owen Patterson, Peter Lilly and John Redwood. At least it's a plan, isn't it? What do you say to that?
The government is obviously developing a plan. The Prime Minister said, indeed, even before she became Prime Minister, that it would take a few months at least to devise a proper plan and a negotiating strategy, so it won't be happening this year. But obviously a lot of effort in government is going to making sure we've got a plan. It's so important that I think it's really important not to rush it. Let's get this right. We've got to get it right for the future of the country.